There's a strange ache that settles deep in your chest when you think about someone you know you shouldn't. They hurt you, dismissed you, or left a trail of confusion in their wake. But still, a quiet longing lingers. It's almost like your mind is drawn to the memory, not because it was kind, but because it was intense. Some connections leave scars that feel strangely magnetic. You might catch yourself replaying moments you promised yourself you forget, smiling at memories that sting, or wondering why your heart still whispers their name. Why do we miss what was toxic? Why does our mind chase echoes of someone who didn't serve our peace? The answer isn't simple, but it's surprisingly human. Missing someone who wasn't good for us isn't a flaw. It's a testament to the complexity of human attachment, memory, and emotion. Psychologists have found that our brains often cling to emotional intensity more than emotional safety. The stronger the highs and lows, the more your mind imprints the connection. Pain and joy can feel entangled, creating a memory cocktail that's hard to resist. We're wired for connection. Even if someone betrayed our trust, even if they undermine our confidence, the brain can still long for them. Evolutionarily, humans relied on relationships for survival, and that dependency leaves traces long after the bond becomes harmful. Our emotions don't always align with logic. We might know on one level that someone was bad for us, but on another level, our emotional memory whispers, remember the closeness, the excitement, the times that felt electric? It's a tug of war between reason and feeling, and it's one we all experience at some point. Understanding this behavior matters because it helps us see ourselves with empathy. Missing someone isn't weakness. It's a signal, an invitation to explore the deeper currents of our attachment, our needs, and our patterns. One of the most common reasons we miss people who hurt us is the lure of familiarity. Even toxic relationships create patterns that feel oddly safe. The unpredictability, the highs and lows, the intensity, it all becomes a rhythm your brain recognizes. When that rhythm stops, your mind experiences it like withdrawal. Think of a friend who constantly criticized you, yet you laughed at the rare moments of warmth they offered. Those fleeting flashes of affection can become addictive. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, a concept borrowed from behavioral psychology. When positive moments are sporadic but powerful, they embed themselves deeper in memory, making the absence feel unbearable. Another reason is identity entanglement. Sometimes the people who weren't good for us became mirrors, reflecting parts of ourselves we couldn't face alone. Perhaps they challenged us, provoked us, or forced us to confront our insecurities. In doing so, they became strangely intertwined with our sense of self. Even after walking away, you may find yourself missing the person because, in a way, you're missing the version of yourself you discovered or believe you discovered through them. A person who constantly pushed your buttons might have inadvertently shaped your resilience, your humor, your awareness of boundaries. That contribution lingers, leaving you nostalgic for someone who was, in reality, harmful. And then there's a human tendency to idealize the past. Memory isn't a perfect recording. It's a reconstruction. Over time, your mind can soften the edges, edit out the pain, and highlight the few beautiful moments. You might remember their smile, their laughter, their voice at midnight. Moments that, in isolation, were genuinely pleasant. The brain naturally filters events through emotion, often exaggerating positive memories when the relationship is over. This isn't deceit, it's survival. Your mind tries to make sense of attachment by keeping the pieces that feel meaningful. Missing someone isn't a mistake. It's a reflection of the brain's need to process loss, change, and unmet longing. Even the act of longing itself serves a subtle purpose. It reminds you that you are capable of deep connection, that you value intimacy, and that your heart is attuned to emotional nuance. Missing someone, even a toxic someone, signals that your capacity to feel is intact. It's a paradox. You mourn what hurt you, but in that mourning, you honor your own emotional depth. So, when you find yourself reaching for memories you promised to leave behind, it's not weakness. It's a mirror reflecting your needs, your patterns, and your capacity for feeling. Understanding why you miss someone who wasn't good for you is the first step toward gentleness. with them, and with yourself. In the next part, we'll explore how these patterns influence your choices, why your heart sometimes clings to the wrong people, and what subtle shifts can guide you toward healthier attachments. Because longing isn't just about the past, it's a guidepost of the future. If we're willing to listen, there's another layer beneath the longing we feel for people who weren't good for us, one that rarely gets spoken aloud. Sometimes we miss them not for who they were, but for what they represented. A version of life that was intense, uncertain, and thrilling. Toxic relationships often come wrapped in drama, unpredictability, and passion. The mind equates intensity with meaning. A quiet, stable connection might not register as deeply, but a stormy, chaotic one leaves a fingerprint on your psyche. It's a paradox of the human heart. We crave safety, yet we also crave a rush of extremes, the emotional roller coaster that reminds us we are alive. Some of us are drawn to people who awaken dormant parts of ourselves. Maybe they mirrored our own unresolved wounds or insecurities, and in that reflection, we felt seen, however painfully. Psychologists call this projection, a phenomenon where we unconsciously assign parts of ourselves onto others. A person who criticized or dismissed you may have mirrored your inner doubts, turning their rejection into a twisted form of intimacy. It's confusing, but it's human. The mind clings to this mirror connection because it offers an illusory sense of understanding, a subtle promise that someone truly sees you, even when they hurt you. Then there's a habit of attachment itself. Some people are highly sensitive to relational bonds. For them, breaking ties, even with someone harmful, is disorienting. The absence of familiar face, voice, or pattern triggers the same pangs as any other loss. Emotional dependency, nostalgia, and the body's biochemical attachment to social connection all converge. Oxytocin, dopamine, the hormones of attachment, linger long after the relationship ends, creating a subtle ache that feels like longing, but is actually a physiological echo. Even memory works against us. The mind doesn't archive in perfect detail. It edits, softens, romanticizes. You might remember the laughter in their presence, the shared jokes, or the fleeting moments of genuine warmth. Your brain filters out some of the pain to help you survive emotionally. What you miss is often not the person themselves, but the emotional landscape they created, the highs and lows, the intensity, the way you felt alive in moments that, in hindsight, were fleeting and flawed. Missing someone who wasn't good for you is a quiet reminder of how deeply human we are. It reflects our capacity for connection, our longing for intimacy, and our willingness to feel, even at the risk of pain. It's tempting to judge ourselves for holding on to memories that sting, but this longing isn't weakness. It's a mark of resilience. It's proof that you survived the intensity, that you carried your own heart through stormy terrain, and that you still honor what you once felt. There is wisdom in this ache. Every time you feel it, it invites reflection. What did that person teach you, even indirectly? Perhaps they sharpened your boundaries, revealed your capacity for forgiveness, or showed you the edges of your own patience. The longing reminds you of the lessons learned and of the person you become in the aftermath. It's an emotional footprint, a shadow cast by growth. And there's comfort in knowing that missing someone isn't permanent. Over time, the pain softens and the memory becomes a mosaic of lessons rather than an ongoing pull. You learn to distinguish between the heart's craving for intensity and its need for peace. You recognize the difference between attachment and true connection. And in that recognition, a quiet empowerment emerges. Missing them becomes a way of honoring your own capacity for love, while also choosing yourself. So, when the memory resurfaces, the laughter, the arguments, the small moments that felt monumental, pause before judgment. Ask yourself not only, why do I miss them, but also, what am I learning about myself? Which part of me was awakened in their presence? Which part still aches in their absence? Understanding your longing doesn't erase it. It transforms it. It becomes a mirror, reflecting your emotional depth, your resilience, and your capacity for growth. Some of us are drawn to intensity. Some of us long for familiar echoes of old patterns. And some of us are simply discovering the weight of our own hearts. Which one are you? If this reflection shifted how you see your attachments, take a moment to pause and honor your own feelings. Recognize the wisdom and longing and the strength it took to survive the intensity of a connection that wasn't good for you. Because missing someone who hurt you doesn't mean you're weak. It means you lived fully, felt deeply, and are still moving forward. In that quiet, reflective space, you're learning the truest form of resilience, the ability to remember without losing yourself, to honor what was while embracing what will be.